All right, and welcome everyone to this evening's Citizens Climate University. It's a weekly webinar program of Citizens Climate Lobbies that provides CCL supporters like you and I with access to in-depth training opportunities on topics related to climate change and effective climate advocacy. I'm your host, Brett Cease, and tonight's topic is going to be reviewing CCL's presentation slide decks. Do you want to give a climate presentation or not quite sure where to start? Well, you're in luck because tonight you are going to join me and we will review many of the resources and ways that CCL provides support for your presentations. Thanks so much for joining us. And if we've done our job well, tonight you'll walk away with the following 3 learning goals. Number 1, having a chance to understand our general advice behind preparation and getting ready for a presentation. Number 2, where to go to find resources and additional slide decks that will be of use in your own communities to give presentations. And number 3, being able to explore CCL community and the vast knowledge and network it provides to find what you're looking for and to ask questions if you aren't able to locate it. We'll make sure to help orient you on all of that. So with that, let's jump right in, and we are going to start tonight with a quick overview about giving presentations. Before, during, and after recommendations that CCL gives in your preparations for giving a presentation. And after this, a reminder, I'll also highlight where you can find this training and many others connected to it with slide decks on CCL community. So to start with, we have number 1, preparing your presentation. What we recommend is using the wealth of other trainings that we have available for a thorough walkthrough on how to use these decks that I'll be reviewing in a little bit on where to find each of them. For example, we have a wonderful training on how to give motivational climate presentations with our AHA deck, and that stands for Acceptance, Hope, and Agency in Taking Action on Climate. In the early part of last year, we provided a presentation outline and slides that really help you customize and provide updates, especially as we learn what we can continue to do across our policy agenda. And you're always welcome to use our solution-based CCL intro slide deck and our presentation, our presenter and scheduler's action team as a resource to create your own from scratch. And we also have a wonderful presentation sequence research overview for tips on how to best construct your own slides so that your audience hears your message and connects and makes sure to take action. In addition, we have a wonderful short tutorial on the scheduling recommendations for how to make sure to get your presentation out there, as well as a preparation recommendation tutorial for tips on dealing with the logistics of presenting and questions to ask your host. I won't go into the full details there, but it does a wonderful job of what to verify ahead of time with technology needs and recommendations around practicing and how to make sure to look for presentation opportunities. And so all of those resources are available for you in your own preparations. So when you actually are in the middle of your presentation, we also have a series of recommendations on tips for presenting. So here they are. Number 1, consider going paperless with your call to actions in your presentation. We have another wonderful training on that so that you can help take action immediately with your participants right there with their smartphones as you're giving the talk. You want to make sure to bring some sign-up sheets or ways that they can engage and follow up afterwards with your local chapter. We always recommend dressing professionally to look nice, arriving earlier so that you have all of your equipment set up ahead of time and no last-minute shenanigans with that. As you are presenting, we want to make sure that you are connecting with your audience, making eye contact, making sure that you are refraining from any jargony abbreviated acronyms like LTE or MOC. For the general public, we would recommend always explaining those in full, and also refraining from using too many difficult to understand terms like externalities. We want to make sure that we can connect with people where they're at, and so a lot of our training and materials around messaging are really distilling that down to the general public. We also want to focus on the main benefits of the policies that we're talking about and advocating for as solutions, and to create a sense of joint ownership, that this is our challenge to face together. We also want to make sure that you weave in and customize your deck to bring in powerful trusted messengers, depending on who your audience might be. And we have a wonderful variety of slides to help you customize that based on your audience. I'll review in a little bit. And again, we want to make sure that we're connecting with that a moral imperative to act, that we have this responsibility to our communities, to future generations, and that we can end with empowerment so that you're not leaving your audience with a sense of doom, gloom, and despair, but that they have agency and a way to engage and build out their own actions so that they can be part of solutioneering as well. Make it clear how to join CCL and find out more about the larger network in the climate movement. And then lastly here, in general, for our presentation advice on after your presentation, once you've given one, it's time to share your success. So we want to make sure that you're logging your presentation in the action tracker so that your outreach gets counted and your local chapter can celebrate you. We want to make sure that you're following up promptly with your contact and lead for that place that you've been presenting so that the opportunity to present is made for future connections afterwards, as well as amplifying your presentation on social media. Take pictures of what your event looks like and what it's engaging with, and tag your member of Congress even. Build on that success and amplify it so that your presentation didn't just happen in a vacuum, but you can help let the rest of the community know and bring them in to the next opportunity to talk to them as well. All right, so that's the general overview of that basic 1, 2, 3 in any giving a presentation walkthrough. And now what I'd like to do is transition to actually showing you through CCL community and taking a tour where you can locate and find a lot of these resources yourself. And you can see here, this is just a general overview about our training topics. On the top part of this, what we call hero banner, it's the overview with the catchy hero image to pull you in. The left-hand side is kind of the site nav, if you will, kind of the directory of where this fits in overall with the trainings. So presentations are within our grassroots outreach lever. So you can see that categories here. If you want to navigate between a lot of our training topics, you can kind of click around here and all these accordions expand. And let's just say, oh, well, I actually don't want to do presentations. I'm more interested in tabling. You could click that and it gives you the different training topic. But since we're here to talk about presentations tonight, this is what I dropped in the chat. The middle section is the real meat of our training. It reminds you, if you're looking for live trainings like tonight, you can always look at our upcoming training calendar. But then here are the 3 main trainings that we have about presentations. These are all with the help of our amazing presenters and schedulers action team. We have the general feedback on giving a presentation, on scheduling a presentation, and on hosting climate simulations in your community, especially with Andrew Jones being our January speaker this year. For many years, we've been huge fans of En-ROADS. And so this is our En-ROADS overall training. But just as a reminder, for both of these two, we actually have wonderful action teams that can back you up as well. So let me show you where you can find that in 2 places. And then on the right-hand side of any of our training topics, if you're not looking for like an actual how-to step-by-step walkthrough, you're just looking more for the resources, which I know that many of you tonight identified as what you're more interested in, you can link directly to our resource directory for these different actual templates. So that's always available here. And then, we have a little reminder to, if you give a presentation, don't forget to log your action. And then here's how you can plug in with action teams or our site-wide forums. So I'm going to go in the order then of showing you the resource directory. So let's just say from there, I was really interested in being able to just see what kind of resources we have plugged in. So if you click that second link tonight, that's what this shows up. And there's basically 8 different slide decks right now that I think are helpful depending on what you're interested as a team to present. But I'll also show you a couple other ones that aren't listed here on the top level. We have on the CCL side of things, the standard intro presentation. This has been something that we've basically put out for the last 4 or 5 years. It was introduced as we kind of consolidated and integrated a lot of the slides that we had on old community into one larger deck. So that is still available for you if you're interested. It builds on kind of Eco America's sequence of steps to prepare your audience to hear and move into action with your message on climate change. And it also is available not only from kind of the standard intro presentation, but we have a version that, at this point now is about a year old, but it highlights kind of what got done and where things stand on climate, if you're interested in more of that context. So that's the intro deck. We have what is called the AHA deck. I'm just going to click through each of these one by one so that people can get more of a familiarity with them, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. This is also through a collaboration with the Presenters and Schedulers Action Team. AHA is an acronym that stands for Acceptance Hope Agency, and it's a wonderful deck that helps you as a presenter tell your story and center your own journey as a climate advocate more front and center with your presentation, and then draw people into action and realizing their own agency as a result. So you can see here again, this deck is available for download with some background. Each of these decks, the benefit as well is, let me just show you this example here. It says, click this link for Google Slides. So you can either download it as a PowerPoint, or you can view it directly as a Google slide and then make your own copy. And to do that, you would click on the link as the Google slide, and then under File, you would click Make Copy Entire Presentation, or you could actually download it this way too as a PowerPoint or PDF. Now, the one hang up there is that obviously it requires you to have a Google account. So if you aren't comfortable with that or you don't have one, that's why we provide you this download option too. The other benefit of any of these decks, I'll just go back to this as an example, is that we have fully specified speaker notes so that you don't have to worry about what to say. You're welcome to personalize and update these based on your own customized, response. But if you're looking specifically for an actual kind of narrative to say along with each of these slides, all you have to do, look no further than the actual speaker notes for each of these. So I think that's also key to just remind people of. So let's move on to some of the next options here. Outside of the AHA deck, we also have what we have called our CCL slides template. Again, I'm just going through this presentation section that I have in the chat from our resource directory. The slides template is basically something that allows you to put together a topic of any choosing. It's more generic. It's built to basically be customized and built out as you're interested in using it, rather than having a theme like telling your climate story or introducing people to why they should volunteer with CCL. So if you're looking for a more generic starter template for just in general slides, that's what I'd recommend for that. And then on the other side of things, we also have a whole host of slide decks that the amazing Presenters and Schedulers Action Team, through the work of Dave Kane and so many others, I know several of you on the line as well, have available. This is a Google Drive link, and within it, there are 3 different folders, in addition to a 4th folder that I've already shown you with our info deck. So let me just show within this is the reason why these aren't formally on CCL communities. They're always being tweaked, and a Google Drive setup allows you a bit more contribution access. But for drop-in slides, the Presenters and Schedulers Action Team has created a whole host of ones, from bipartisan themes, agriculture, state-specific, market-driven, healthy climate, from a health perspective, personal actions. There's a whole host of options there. If you're really interested in having a certain angle, maybe you're presenting to Rotary. I know the amazing work that Alan Anderson is doing has been integrated with Dave's work there. On audience-specific decks, if you click that link instead, again, these titles speak for themselves. You can also toggle between grid and list view if it's easier for you to see in this way. Again, there's an audience for conservatives, an audience for seniors, an audience for the agriculture sector, for trusted messengers on the Energy Innovation Act. All of those are available for you. And then lastly, especially if you have a deck that you're really excited about, for example, Betty's done just some amazing presentations of late. You can let Dave know, and he'll feature this in the contributed decks example. This is a lot longer just because, there's been a lot of people that have clearly, contributed a lot of great content. But this is basically kind of a contributed deck directory of some of our star performers across the country as volunteers. So if you're ever curious about seeing what those look like, that's how you get there too. And a reminder how I got there: under the resource directory, you can go here, under CCL, the top drop-down menu, all resources right here. That's what this resource directory page is. And then I'm browsing by category, and there's a whole section on presentations. So I've explored this left-hand side so far. All right, so let's talk about some of the other more policy-focused slide decks that CCL National has provided. The first of which is this summer, Dana did a wonderful CCU and a training specifically on what is in the Inflation Reduction Act. So if you're more, geared towards telling your community why this is such a big policy and what you're excited about, within it, this is the deck for you. And again, that's available under PowerPoint download or Google Slides version. Just going to clear out some of these as I get through them. And then if you're interested more in the homeowners benefits of the Inflation Reduction Act, like how you can save money or get rebates if you install a heat pump, or if you, further electrify and, boost the efficiency of your attic, through insulation, what's available for you for direct consumer rebates. This is a deck that Dana reviewed just a couple of weeks ago that does a much better job of focusing on that with some specific upfront examples and making sense of what, as a consumer, you're eligible for under the IRA. So I can't recommend that enough. I think that's been our most popular deck of late. We also have a couple of decks that harken back to just what we've kept updated through the years about why there's social proof behind the popularity of carbon pricing. So if you're looking specifically for, trusted messengers about the, acceptance and broader popularity than the media normally portrays about carbon pricing being something that can unify us, this is a great deck that actually even has a directory based on some of the top line messaging and some of the available quotes. So this is a deck I'd recommend, especially if you're giving presentations on our core policy agenda around carbon pricing. Some great quotes from well-known people, from Yellen, Buttigieg, Mitt Romney, you name it. This is a great treatment that you can kind of copy and paste some of these slides even as social proof point and then slap them in there, you name it. We also, again, back to this resource directory, have a wonderful slide deck that's all about the Energy Innovation Act. And, as the bill is reintroduced this session, we'll make sure to update that with the new bill number and any of the other changes should they take shape within the policy itself. But currently this is available in both English and Spanish for the prior legislative sessions, Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. A couple of things to note that I just mentioned there. We're so lucky. We have a whole host of Spanish resources that are available for a lot of our decks. So especially if you or your community are interested in seeing what might be available not only to English-speaking audiences, but if you're in a Spanish-speaking community, you can click on the Spanish resource page there or scroll down to our multilingual resources. And from there, you can scroll through and basically see a whole host. What this does is it shares both in Spanish and English what resources are available. And you can go all the way down here. You can kind of keep looking based on these to the actual PowerPoint presentation section. And you can see a whole host of them from here too that are available in Spanish. I also wanted to highlight that not only do we have these presentations, but there's a whole host of other presentations that are available if you go down to studies and reports. And these are, again, based on some of the other areas that you might be interested in connecting the dots on. Not all of these are full slide decks, but a lot of them are wonderful activities, for example, that you can do with your audience as you're presenting. So the Yale folks at the Yale Project on Climate Change Communication, a wonderful ally of CCL's for many years, have a whole host of data that you can plug in, whether it's copying, pasting some fact sheets of popular opinion in your area to include and segment into your presentation, whether it's maps to show again climate opinion by county, by state on some of the key questions like how many adults support taxing fossil fuel companies in your area. The other thing I'll just flag that I'm a big fan of including as an option to really engage your audience at the very beginning. We have this in a different version for our intro presentation, but Yale has its own approach called SASSY, which is an acronym for Six America's Super Short Survey. And if you are interested in using SASSY as part of your presentation, it's a really easy way for your audience to take a quiz that you can basically make into slides or have people take their phones out and go to this website right here. I'll just put it in the chat again. And basically, all you have to do, the original item was the 36 inventories, but you'll see how quick this is. I'll just do this right now. This is a great way for your audience to immediately plug into kind of a social science larger project. How important is global warming to you personally? I'll say extremely important. How worried are you? Very worried. How much do you think about it, and how much will it harm you? A great deal. How much do you think will harm future generations? Again, this is what I've entered, just 4 questions. And right there, it spits me into what six American segment I'm in and what that means and how it was done. You can plug right in. It's a really empowered way for people to break the spiral of silence and realize, okay, wow, actually looking again at this distribution, I may have thought of climate change as a 50-50 split where, half the people were caring about it and half weren't. Well, right now out here, you can see basically only 9% of the population is dismissive and 10% doubtful. So 80% are either incredibly worried, somewhat worried, or not engaged on it. So that's a very helpful way to just bond with your audience and make them feel part of the larger movement. All right, so let's talk about action teams. That's the other thing that I wanted to make sure to focus on here, because we have some wonderful additional resources that you can refer to as action teams. And that is especially where to find the presenters and schedulers action team and the En-ROADS action team. Now, many of these other action teams, I'm going to give short shrift to tonight just because we have over 70 of them, but they also will probably have decks or resources available if you have a particular angle that you would like to work at, like, perhaps more of an economic lens or coastal impact, you name it. But for En-ROADS and for our presenter schedulers action team, the reason why I love these two in particular, let's go to presenters and schedulers first, is just not only that, this is a community where you can engage and ask your questions. They have monthly support programs that Dave Kane and company run that do a really good job of highlighting the importance of, getting that peer-to-peer feedback and support. If anyone's heard of Toastmasters, this is another kind of wonderful way that you can get practice and get feedback and engage with a community that's trying to refine their own presenting. So you can engage here, asking questions. You can see a whole host of the other topics of late. And then here's a lot of the resources that I've already highlighted from that other place on our resources directory. But this is another way that you can find them and be more aware of them. So can't say enough about the presenters action team. The other thing that is out there is our newly launched En-ROADS action team. And En-ROADS, if you haven't seen it as a tool, I can't say enough. It's just an amazing resource that if you want to find out more, they have their own training academy and En-ROADS. You can become an ambassador like a lot of CCL leaders have to really get comfortable with this tool. But basically, you can slide a bunch of these slider bars, including one specifically for a carbon price, that will then help you and your audience arrive at what impact each of these policies has on our future emission reductions and our energy sources. And this is on the global level. So if people are curious about exploring, well, what if we really boost our energy efficiency? What does that do? Or, look at the transformative power of a carbon price. That takes us down all the way to, with what's this one switch of the lever, a 2.6 degrees Celsius future, that big of a chunk of emission reductions. And each of these, if you click the triple dot button, has a wonderful additional way that you can specify more details. If you really want to drill down or find out more information, it gives you that with that little eye indicator. So they have amazing community here that you can start getting support from, especially from the CCL angle. There's a whole planning team. They just had a wonderful webinar this last week. And they have monthly, webinars as well. So big shout out to our En-ROADS leadership. If you're interested and haven't connected, definitely give Lauren, Steve, and the whole team a big connection there and plug in. For any of these teams, let's just say, you haven't joined, what you can do is click on that, and then on the top corner here, you'll see a little join button, and that allows you then to participate in the forums and be notified if people send out a bulk email with the next event invite. It's a way for you to get connected to that community. And the two other ones directly touched on our policy agenda items of building electrification, efficiency, and healthy forests are our electrification action team, which just put together a wonderful presentation this last week, and our agriculture team, which now has expanded of late and become agriculture and healthy forests. If you ever have questions about these particular policy areas, we welcome you to engage in the forums here. These are robust conversations. Both these teams, as I'm sure many of you know we're having, multiple discussions every day. And if you have a specific question, about, what is the average lifespan of a water heater, et cetera, post them right in here. There is a wealth of information of people that have background in that particular sector. And if you can't find it in a Google search, I'm sure that they would love to be able to track it down, and you'll probably even get several answers as a result of posting that can give you a full variance of some of those responses. The last thing that's on people's minds probably is, well, what about the rest of CCL's policy agendas? So, clearly we talked about some of the decks that connected specifically to carbon pricing or to the, Inflation Reduction Act within our building electrification and efficiency agenda. Well, if you're curious about the other ones, what I would suggest doing is going to our training top pages. And this is a wonderful feature about any training to kind of go full circle to where we started. Again, I went from resources and training at the top drop-down menu to all training topics. You can go directly to our policy agendas interactive training there. But let's just say, well, I'm really curious about forests. That's actually what I want to know about more. Well, you can then, click on healthy forests. Let's say instead you can't remember that pathway. Again, a reminder and an encouragement, you could always type in these keywords to our search bar and see them this way too. And the other thing about search, just since we're on it, and I know this is always a pain point, we don't have a perfect search. It's not very ideal in a lot of settings. So I want to be first and foremost to acknowledge that, is that basically you can also filter your results. So if you're not finding what you're looking for, and again, it's like 824 pages, I don't have time to read all those. What you can do here on the left-hand side is say, well, what I'm really looking for is an actual training on electrification. So boom, right there, checking that box, it narrows it down to the 19 trainings we have that have mentioned electrification in them. And let's just say you're also most interested in seeing the most recent training. Well, this is first defaulting on relevancy, which is weighted in a particular algorithmic way based on who's clicking on what. And if that's kind of the most popular search, it's going to bump it up. But if you're just looking for recency, or maybe a really old school thing that you saw years ago, you can filter it based on date too. So see how that plays around. And right here now, the most recent one that Dana gave all of a sudden goes to the top. Even though it isn't on the relevance version, it is available on the newest because that was the most recent one. So those are two easy ways that I'd recommend winnowing down your search process that can really help speedily identify what you might be looking for. So check this out. It gives you the same place, that top hit. And each of these trainings, let's just say you really want to wonk out on an advanced topic with healthy forests and you want some slide support. Well, each of these trainings has a read, watch, and listen tab. And under the watch tab is an actual video, right, of somebody giving the presentation that often is, encapsulated and refined to a bit shorter degree on the read tab. So you can, choose your style of learning. But under the watch tab, under that video, we have a download section. And for each of these is an actual slide deck that you can also use to copy and paste any of these actual resources into your own deck if you're building one and sampling from here and there. So let's just say you remember that Dana gave a really good topic about forests and healthy forests and the importance of what they contribute to our carbon removal, and you wanted to include that pie chart. Well, then you could just click on that slide, do your copy and paste, or you can just, do right here to edit and do copy that way, and then paste it into your other deck as well. And that's another really rich way to enhance and personalize. If you are building out your deck for a particular audience, you can go across any of our topic pages and really drill down. Let's just say you're wanting to give a presentation instead about working with the media, or you name it. Any of the ways that we give trainings, you're more than welcome to crib any of our slides. We have a Creative Commons license that allows you to reuse them for any non-commercial purpose without even needing to directly attribute them to CCL. So they're all freely available for you in your local communities. All right. Well, with tonight, we hope that you found tonight's training useful and empowering. If you have any questions, just a reminder again to go to our CCL community forums. You're more than welcome to post your questions there, and we'll be sure to get back to you. And as always, we look forward to hearing in those same forums the presentations you're up to, the questions and feedback you have, anything that you've learned, and the successes that you've had in your community. So keep up the great work out there, everyone, and we look forward to being in touch. Stay safe and have a great night.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Citizens Climate Lobby's training program. You can tune into more episodes anywhere podcasts are available. Inspired by what you heard today? Join Citizens Climate Lobby to advocate for bipartisan climate solutions. Go to community.citizensclimate.org to find more trainings, resources, your local chapter, national action teams, discussion forums, and more. Be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram @CitizensClimate. We also invite all of our listeners to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiration.
Like what you hear? Recommend us to your friends and make sure to give us a 5-star rating. It helps us show up on other listeners' feeds. Feel free to pass on any suggestions for future episodes in the comments as well.
And together, we are creating the political will for a livable world.